She is Sira, the most dazzling flower among the flowers, and she's always surrounded by excellent people. He is Kashima, a fake tree standing tall on the barren land at the end. If she is like the dawn, then he is like the silent night at the age of 8. She brings joy and life. He only reminds people of sadness and irreparable loss. I thought their lives were like two parallel lines that would never intersect, but that day, the wheel of fate began to turn, and in the new school year, Kashima was lucky enough to be in the same class with Sira. He only dared to glance at her from a distance, because the person who was considered the most beautiful girl in the school, Sira, was desired by many boys. The boys in the class not only wanted to be happy with her, but also wanted more, such as her body. They even bet that they would take turns being happy with her because there was a rumor that Sira changed boyfriends like she changed clothes, and she would change one every 3 months. There was even a rumor that Sira was looking for a boyfriend just to satisfy her desires. Kashima had heard such rumors about Sira since the first year, and they had spread throughout the school. He could only sigh and think that the distance between him and Sira would never be close. In addition to love, Kashima is also an introvert. By the second year of school, the number of his friends could be counted on the fingers, maybe 2, and those 2 were no different from him. While he was calculating, Sira suddenly came to talk to him, which surprised him. She came to borrow a pen from Kashima. She bent down to write, accidentally revealing some soft lines on her shoulders. At that moment, Kashima felt as if time had stopped. It was a scene that he had never dared to think he would see in his life. Sira has always been so innocent, even as a high school girl. She still interacts with people without discrimination, which is something Kashima can't forget about her. After Sira returned the pen to him the moment their hands accidentally touched, he felt a little more love for her. The hot summer has passed and Kashima is enjoying the cool breeze of the changing seasons on the rooftop with his 2 friends, Susuki and Zen, both of whom are arguing about the live stream of a famous person. They have to stay up late to watch it, and Kashima has to let them go because it's a rare time for them to focus on the game. When it comes to exams, Susuki and Zen show their boredom, because the time to return the scores is coming, and if the scores are low, both of them have decided that their parents will forbid them from playing games. Kashima comforted them, but they turned around and challenged him. Whoever gets the highest score must accept any order from the one with the lowest score. Not long after, the results came out. The whole class scored below 50 points, Susuki at 18.1. Although Kashima's is not the best, it is the highest score in the whole class. Immediately, Zen and Susuki asked Kashima to accept the challenge, which was to confess to the person he secretly liked. They were eagerly waiting to see Kashima being rejected and wallowing in self-pity. Kashima also denied that he had never liked anyone, but at that moment the image of her gentle smile appeared in his mind, making his heart skip a beat. Then he had to accept the challenge. Kashima then sent a handwritten note to Sira in her locker. And after school, Kashima went to the place where Sira was supposed to be, while his 2 friends hid in a corner nearby. Kashima only did this to make his 2 friends happy. He only had 2 friends in his school life, and if he lost them, he would have no one to play with. He thought he would rather be rejected in the bathroom, and he also took this opportunity to solve all his best friend's love problems. It's better to be rejected by her than to have a crush on her and watch her with someone else. Not long after, Sira came over with the note, her aura still radiating around her. She started the conversation first while Kashima was still standing there, too stunned to speak. Sira remained silent, so Kashima spoke up. Finally, Kashima confessed his love to Sira. In response, she asked him what he liked about her. Kashima confided that he loved her very much and wanted to say more, but he had reached his limit. He was ready to be rejected, but instead of rejecting him, she said, "Let's date." Kashima went from surprise to happiness, everything happening like a dream. The most wonderful dream he had ever had, and if it was a dream, Kashima hoped he would never wake up and stay with her forever. For his 2 friends, it was an endless nightmare. Not only did they get low scores and get scolded by their parents, but their friend also got the school belle as his girlfriend. So Kashima and Sira started dating, and they often walked home together after school. Kashima's heart pounded as if it was about to burst. This was the closest he had ever been to her since he had a crush on her. Apart from seeing Sira face to face when she borrowed his pen, Kashima only dared to watch her from afar. Kashima asked Sira why she chose him as her boyfriend. While they didn't know anything about each other, in fact, it was only Sira who didn't know anything about Kashima. But he had always been watching her. She replied easily that she didn't like him yet, but they could just get to know each other. And when Kashima confessed his love, she admitted that she was a little moved, and he was surprised that she realized it right away. She said that she didn't like everyone, and she had her own standards. But her standards were a little low, as long as she didn't dress sloppily or be dirty. Sira was very happy when someone else said they liked her. She said that they would try to get to know each other through dating. At first, it might not be possible, but maybe later on, this half-hearted love would become real love. She had dated many people before, but none of them had given her the feeling of true love. The rumor that Sira kept changing boyfriends like she changed clothes was actually that she was the one who was dumped. Sira insisted that she was very loyal, and once she started a relationship with someone, she would reject all other confessions. At this point, Kashima realized that Sira's being with so many people was not simply because she was pursued by so many people. Kashima took Sira to her apartment. However, she asked him to take her home. When they got to her house, she asked him to come in because no one was home. When they got to her room, it was as messy as her personality. Sira went downstairs to get some water, leaving Kashima sitting in the room waiting. In this empty space, Kashima had many perverted thoughts. He sniffed the smell in the room, and then aimed at the drawer where Sira's underwear was supposed to be. Just as he was about to see them, she came in, and he accidentally bumped into the edge of the drawer. She also didn't hesitate to change into a new 2D shirt she had just bought. Kashima learned a profound lesson. Never try to sneak into someone else's room again. Sira invited Kashima to have some water. Kashima looked around and didn't know where to sit. Was he supposed to sit next to her? The thought of it made his head spin. Sira looked at Kashima and whispered, "So you want to do it?" She said she needed to take a shower first, and if Kashima didn't want to, she would do it herself. Sira then closed the door, leaving Kashima frozen in place. Understanding her intention, Kashima himself also wanted to lose his virginity, but his reason was that he had been single for months. He didn't want to do it because it was too soon. How could she accept doing it with someone she had just met? Sira still replied bluntly, "Don't all couples do it at this stage? I'm still single, so I don't know if any of you who have a boyfriend or girlfriend can confirm this for me." Kashima was shocked by this relationship. They would do it when the time was right, or rather when she wanted to, he would do it with her. Kashima also realized that all the guys who had been with her so far had been with her because she was so easy. So after they got tired of playing, they would leave Sira. Kashima was not one of those scumbags like them. He would do it if she wanted to, not because he thought it was his duty as a boyfriend or girlfriend. Before Sira could say anything, Kashima left. She said that being with Kashima gave her a new feeling, which was the first time she had ever had from being with someone. As for Kashima, she was the first person he had ever been with. She hoped that the next time she wanted to do it with him would be when she loved him the most. I heard that Kashima went home and cried that night because he didn't accept to do it with her. Since being with her, Kashima hasn't changed at all. He still drinks as usual, and this morning at the school gate, Kashima was surprised to receive the first message from Sira, who had just woken up while it was almost time for school. This was the first time Kashima had texted her daughter, and he felt very confused. Every word in the reply became stiff, and during the class, Kashima still stared at the phone. A moment later, Sira walked into the classroom, still radiating sunshine, making the boys blush. And when she came to her seat, she still glanced at Kashima with affection. As usual, Kashima ate lunch with her two friends on the rooftop. They were extremely curious when he told them everything that happened yesterday. Then they were disappointed when Kashima had not done anything with Sira. Suke said that even though he was a virgin, he had to prepare 3 wolves inside him. Kashima didn't prepare that. He just prepared a sincere heart to love Sira, which made his two friends hopeless. Suke and Zen had to popularize knowledge for Kashima. There was no true love here. In this school there is a clear hierarchy, but if you enter it, Kashima will be like a ghost now. Sira is at the top of the hierarchy, so the people above accept the confession of the people below, they just see it as their pleasure. Suke and Zen still believed the rumors about Sira, so they both thought she just chose someone like Kashima to satisfy her. So they advised Kashima to give up his fantasies about true love and return to reality. In the end, he would be the one who would suffer immense pain. If he still didn't want to believe it, time would prove everything. Kashima gradually had negative thoughts, and when he returned to class, Kashima was asked to talk. She said she had a lot of dreams about him last night, and she looked at him while talking, accidentally revealing a bit of her soft curves. The boys gossiped about him. Sira's friend gave him a look as if she wanted to kill him. Kashima quickly made an excuse to leave. In the following classes, Sira kept talking to him. He was very happy, but it attracted the attention of others. Especially Sira's friend still hasn't stopped scolding him. She asked him out to talk about their dating story. Besides, Zamana is her friend, but she hasn't told anyone yet. Kashima wanted her to keep this a secret and limit talking at school to avoid attracting attention. She asked when the two of them could talk naturally. Kashima suggested Saturday, or when they were out. But he thought again, only Saturday would take up her private time. On the contrary, she happily agreed. She promised that it would be a date for both of them. The night before the date, Kashima stayed home, not knowing what to prepare for the date. Suddenly she called to both of them about the date tomorrow. Kashima was an introvert. On Saturday he just stayed home, rarely went out, had no dating experience, so he didn't know where to take her. But he still wanted to know more about her, so he wanted her to take him to the place she wanted. Hearing that, she happily agreed. At the end of the call, Kashima thought Sira would take him to the hotel. Hope turned into disappointment when the day came. Sira took Kashima to the shopping mall. And as usual, her beautiful appearance attracted all eyes around her. Whether at school or on the street, Sira was always admired and praised. As for Kashima, from his appearance to his appearance, he was simple and ordinary. Nothing outstanding. Sira happily dragged Kashima through each store from the first floor to the third floor, choosing all kinds of clothes. After shopping for a long time, the two stopped to rest at a small cafe, but Kashima smiled and asked him if he had fun shopping. Kashima replied that she might think he was lying because only she was shopping. So how could he be happy? Kashima just said that she didn't need to buy anything. Just seeing Sira happy with the items she chose, he was also happy. Sira showed a shy expression as soon as Kashima said that. Sira Van Lin's default ringtone, that's when the manager came to check. Kashima thought that the manager was forbidding her and him from seeing each other. Thinking again, it was true that he could not be a good match for her, and anxiety filled that date. And on Sunday, Kashima's anxiety became a reality. He texted Sira a good morning greeting, but she didn't reply. For someone who is always attached to the phone like her, it is impossible that she did not see his message. He was worried that she was with someone else behind his back. To ignore that feeling of unease, Kashima immersed himself in playing games with his two friends that Sunday. Monday is the first day of the week. Besides his mother wanting him to eat breakfast, Kashima had to go to school. He was talking to his two friends when he saw Sira talking to the boys. Kashima couldn't do anything, and received comfort from his two friends, but as soon as he got to the door of the room, Kashima received a message from her asking him to meet her. Kashima realized that the time had come. He thought she was tired of him, so she asked to say goodbye. Kashima walked to the meeting point with anxiety in his heart. He wished he had done it with the person he liked before, but then he dismissed that bad thought from his mind. Finally, at the meeting point, Kashima was mentally prepared to accept the breakup. But in fact, she only came to show off the new phone case that she had bought. It was a limited edition that only one person could buy, but she had two. Yesterday, she asked Samana to queue up with her. All day today, she really wanted to give it to him but had to keep her promise to keep their relationship a secret. Kashima happily hugged the phone case tightly. Perhaps in this relationship, only he thought too much. She had done so many things for him, but he could only think badly of her. The two then returned together. She said this was a souvenir for the two of them together for a month. She wondered why Kashima thought he would be dumped. Kashima said that he had once confessed to a girl before. It was when he was in 8th grade. She always had intimate actions with him, making him think that she had feelings for him, so he decided to confess. The result is that she only sees him as a good friend. Since that day, Kashima has gradually lacked confidence with girls. She secretly thought that maybe she should thank that girl because thanks to that rejection she was able to come to him. Kashima didn't think that 8th grade love could last until now. However, she said that her parents also fell in love since 8th grade, and have been married until now, and they are each other's first love. She admires the love of both of them, and always wants to have a love like that. Suddenly, a supercar passed by. Kashima knew the name in the car because he loved cars. He told a lot about cars that Sira didn't understand. By the time he realized it, things had gone too far. Sira was like those sports cars because she admired her mother, so she always ran at full speed. Just to want to become an adult, she became very mature compared to her classmates. But the result is that it doesn't go anywhere, dating and then breaking up. The truth is that her parents are also right. Kashima realized that even though she had experienced many things, her soul was still very young. He said that sports cars don't necessarily have to go fast, but they are made for the driver to enjoy the so-called running. In fact, she is always surrounded by many people around her, and there are also boys, simply because she is enjoying the so-called youth ladder. It's no different from a sports car, and if she considers herself a sports car, coincidentally, Kashima loves cars as well as her. The fact that she was more motivated after Kashima's encouragement. The two then raced each other to the chicken coop. That's when Sira told Zamana everything. Zamana still didn't seem to trust Kashima. The next morning Kashima's class had a new transfer student. She is Ko-Rose, and everyone was surprised when she was the one who rejected Kashima in 8th grade. Ko-Rose's appearance brought back too many memories in Kashima's head. Every time I remember it, I want to find a hole to crawl into, but now I have to meet her again. Fortunately, when he already had Sira by his side, he was sure that the unforgettable story in the past, she would not remember him, and would not worry. Roz then immediately introduced herself, and her beauty made the boys in the class excited. Kashima ignored the broken promise, but the broken promise did not ignore him. The homeroom teacher arranged for Roz to sit next to Kashima in the front row, and she seemed to recognize him. After Roz's introduction, the boys in the class were divided into two groups. One side was Sira, and the other side was Roz. Roz started a conversation with Kashima to confirm if he was the history boy. She was very happy to see him again after receiving a nod from him. Kashima was very worried that the story of his confession when he was drunk would not appear in Roz's conversation with the other girls in the class. Kashima decided to avoid Roz. And now that school was over, Kashima was about to leave when he was stopped by Zamana, who had just left the classroom. The two of them had a short conversation. He had to wait for Zamana to finish eating her potatoes before he could talk. Zamana mentioned Sira's upcoming birthday and told him to buy her something and then leave. Kashima asked Zamana what Sira liked. He didn't feel comfortable asking her directly, because she had given him such a surprise gift, so he wanted to surprise her too. Zamana agreed to tell Kashima in exchange for him making sure to make Sira happy. Their conversation was overheard by someone outside. The next morning, Sira waited for Kashima at the train station to talk to him, because the story of him going to the movies with Zamana had been overheard by one of Sira's friends. They took pictures and spread them everywhere. Kashima didn't hide anything. He then expressed his desire to organize a birthday party for Sira on Sunday. After hearing the answer he wanted, she agreed and left first. Kashima thought she was jealous, but he didn't think so. It was the first time he had seen her with that expression. Sunday came as planned by Zamana. Kashima took Sira to Harajuku, her favorite place. According to the milk tea, Sira was no exception. Kashima took her to a famous milk tea shop in this location, and she was extremely happy. Sira wanted to pay for herself. Of course Kashima wouldn't let her. Today was her birthday, and he was the one who invited her. He would pay. If she wanted to pay, he hoped that next time she could invite him. It turned out that before choosing the shop, Kashima had surveyed the previous shops. He had tried a lot of them one by one. He brought out a map of this area to record her feelings about this shop. He then introduced other milk tea shops for Sira to choose from. She listened and nodded her head. Sira's mind drifted into the dance ball until Kashima stopped talking. He realized that he had overdone it again. She was very surprised that Kashima also liked milk tea. Kashima was very honest with his feelings. He told her about how he had gone to research her preferences. He wanted to at least like what she liked, in short, the same interests. He was so excited that he didn't know what to say to Sira. The two of them started to try out other milk tea shops. She also wanted Kashima to try it, so she gave him her straw, and this was a kiss. He immediately bit the straw when his lips were about to touch the straw, and the sweet milk tea ran down Kashima's body. She also tried it, and she knew this was a kiss, making Kashima blush. The two of them just played like this until the afternoon. Kashima wanted to tell Sira something, but she also had something to say. They were interrupted by another couple. The boy was giving a gift to his girlfriend, but then Kashima remembered that he hadn't bought a birthday present for Sira. It was too late because they had been drinking milk tea all morning. Kashima apologized to Sira for not having a birthday present for her, but she took the map as a birthday present. Sira said that this was a gift that made her feel very satisfied and be herself, so it would be her 17th birthday. The next morning at school, Kashima heard people gossiping about Sira again. They said that she often took advantage of her boyfriend's feelings and then dumped them. Kashima had heard many bad rumors about Sira. However, this time it seemed to go a bit too far. During lunch, Kashima was still thinking about it. Two of his friends planned to take advantage of this time to eat his lunch. Samana came to the rescue and made the two of them run away. She had also heard about the rumor, and the discomfort was evident on her face. Back in class, Roz took the initiative to talk to Kashima. She had made a cake for him. During the class, the two of them sat next to each other because Roz's new book was not available yet. He showed her the location of the lesson, and their hands accidentally touched. The teacher left for a while, and she forgot her book. At this time, Roz apologized to Kashima about the broken promise, because at that time she didn't know anything about love. But now she understands, so she hopes he will give her a chance. Kashima refused because he already had a girlfriend. Roz wanted to know who it was. Kashima refused because his love affair was a secret, and since he went with Samana, Sira's friends had been spreading rumors. If his affair was exposed, he might become a laughingstock for everyone. Kashima saw Sira being led into an empty classroom by a boy. He confessed to her. Of course she refused. This guy didn't get the answer he wanted and asked Kashima's address and information, but he said that Kashima was so secretive that he went to a secret love affair. Sira punched this guy with her sincere words. She only said that Kashima was secretive when everyone knew that he was in a relationship with her. But she didn't. It was true that in this relationship only Kashima thought ahead, and now after school, she knew that Kashima would stay behind to accept it, so he ran back first. The people at the next table occasionally eavesdropped on other people's conversations. She also heard the rumors about Sira, and then added fuel to the fire, and told Kashima. It was said that it was just a rumor that everyone said as if they had witnessed it all. Kashima refuted Kuros and said that Sira was a wonderful person. Kuros was stimulated and said that Kashima was also an outsider, so how would he know? In the end, he said that he was Sira's boyfriend. Although it hadn't been long, he could confidently say that he understood her better than that boyfriend. Everyone around also heard this. The whole group thought that Kashima was also delusional, because until Sira confirmed that he was her boyfriend, there were different reactions from the people in the class. The guy who had just confessed to Sira saw that she had low standards, so he planned to confess again. The girls thought that Kashima was a playboy. Kira showed an unpleasant face and ran out of the classroom. Kashima immediately followed her to question whether she was the one who spread the rumors. Kuros did not deny it and said that she did the right thing because she wanted to be number one. Sira had taken a lot of things from her, and now she was just taking it back. In addition, Kuros said that Sira was her twin sister. The reason they didn't look alike was because they were fraternal twins. When their parents divorced, Kuros changed her surname to her mother's. From a young age, Sira had always shown positive energy. Everyone around her loved her. The complete opposite of Sira. Kuros couldn't express her emotions perfectly. That's why she was the one who suffered the most. When she followed her mother and left, Kuros realized that she had to become someone like Sira in order to be noticed by everyone. She constantly changed herself and became more famous than Sira in order to please her sister. But Sira was still Sira. She was calm in the face of all the criticism, and on the contrary, she was loved by more people. Kashima saw her own image through Kuros. He often paid attention to the eyes of everyone around him. Understanding Sira, she was indeed an extremely extroverted person. If Kuros tried to change herself to be like Sira, the only result would be suffering, so just be herself. Kashima believed that one day someone would truly love her. Kuros was upset that she had accidentally vomited and was helped up by Kashima. Kuros told him to leave her alone. Kashima returned to the classroom and met Sira and Zamana. Zamana was very pleased with Kashima's courage, and then left first. Kashima then returned with Sira. She was worried that Kashima might become a laughingstock for everyone after making their relationship public. However, this was his own choice. He couldn't save face by watching her being slandered by everyone. Sira shed tears for a moment. Kashima did this for her again. Since the two of them got together, Kashima had been doing a lot of things for her. She was really happy, and she came to Kuros. Sira hoped that Kashima would understand her, even though the two sisters were born different. Kuros was really a good person. She wanted to tell Kashima about the new rumors about Sira before they got married, but Kashima didn't care. The past is the past. He only lives for the present and the future. And right now he's very happy with her, in Kuros. The move to meet Kashima was unplanned, and if the feelings came back, it would be a hindrance to her pursuit of Sira. What would it feel like to publicly announce that she was happy with the most popular person in school? Kashima didn't want to go to school at home, and she was worried about it, but everything at school was going on as usual. The only difference was that he could now talk to Sira naturally, and they would go out to eat together after school. They talked about their hobbies, and when asked what he did when he was free, he just waited for Kashima to tell him that he liked to watch live streams of games. Then he went on to talk about watching the game, but Sira didn't understand anything, so he took out his phone to show her. The two of them watched for 200 hours without realizing how close they were to each other, and the next day Kashima asked the advisory group to help her get a kiss from Sira. It was a natural thing to do, and it was no problem to ask the two of them if they didn't have a crush on each other. After all, they would use their gaming experience to guide Kashima, or so they said. Kashima asked to think about it again, and he wanted to hold hands before kissing her, and then he made a plan for Kashima. Then he asked her out on a date in the amusement park, and she happily agreed, and the first step of the plan was done. According to the plan, the two of them would play bumper cars in the park, and then Sira would fall and he would grab her hand, and Kashima would be happy to think about it without concentrating on the fake game. When the teacher called him to stand up and answer, he said, "Yes, ma'am, the answer is correct." "Why is it correct?" In a difficult situation, Kuros helped him, and he thanked her, but she just hoped that he would stop hating her. The date had arrived, and Kashima was excited to take Sira to play bumper cars, but she wanted him to try the rice she had made herself. The page was not beautiful, but it tasted very good, and Zamana even called to tell Kashima to finish it. When they were done, the two of them played bumper cars, and that was when the second stage of the plan took place when they reached the turning point. As planned, Sira fell, but she jumped lightly into the park, and Kashima grabbed her hand, so the plan failed. He insisted that he would be able to do it when he got off the boat, but he still failed. Still not giving up, he continued to refine the plan, and Sira noticed that his face had been tense since morning, so she thought he wanted to break up, so she said so. Kashima hurriedly explained, but he didn't want to tell her the plan, so he took her to the boat. This time he didn't need a plan. Kashima stepped off the boat first and then reached out for her to take it. 10 points of delicacy. Kashima gently guided the boat across the calm surface of the lake, and it was then that Sira blurted out that she really wanted to hold his hand. Kashima was very happy, and he told her about his plan, and she was very happy for a moment, and then she came closer to Kashima. Then the two of them greeted each other with a kiss, and the distance between them became closer and closer. When they were on the shore, Kashima still reached out to help her up. She still didn't want to let go of her hand, and the two of them walked back hand in hand, and she expressed her desire to be called by her name. Kashima was still very shy, so he would practice for that. Sira expressed that she was very happy today, and every time she went out with Kashima, she found new emotions in herself. I was at Kira's house, and she still had a crush on Kashima, but Sira's appearance had upset everything, and Kira began to think about something. The next day, Kashima tutored Chozara in English, and after school, the two of them went home. Sira insisted that this Saturday would be the 1-month anniversary of their love, so she wanted to take this opportunity to go out and play, and the two of them decided to go to the beach. The season is almost here, and the test papers have been handed out. Sira seems to be very good at studying, but to put it bluntly, she is very bad at it, and her grades are just enough to pass, while Kashima's are always high. The two of his friends also gradually improved, and when they were about to go home, Kira's came to him. She wanted him to tutor her in English, but he told her that he was already tutoring Sira, and that he would not go out with anyone else. Kira's wanted to make an appointment with him when he was free, but Kashima still refused, and he could introduce Zenchako, but Kira's didn't give up, and she wanted to ask for his phone number. Kashima looked at her and gave her Zenchako's phone number, and the day to go to the beach had arrived. While waiting for Sira, Kashima was constantly bothered by Kira's messages, and Kashima had to refuse with the excuse that he was busy. Sira had arrived, and the two of them went to the beach, and needless to say, she looked amazing in her swimsuit. Sira immediately pulled him into the sea, and at this moment she seemed to be applying sunscreen on him. When he touched her back, he could feel the warmth from her. Kashima's trembling hand made her laugh, and Kashima had to put his head in the water to concentrate. He had only applied sunscreen for a while, but he was already exhausted, but the people outside could do it very naturally, and he could only sigh after applying sunscreen. Sira excitedly pulled Kashima into a lively beach volleyball game, and when they were both soaked, they went to a small restaurant together to enjoy a cold lunch. Afterwards, they continued to immerse themselves in the peaceful scenery, and watch the endless ocean, and towards the end of the day, Kashima finally opened her mouth to say that she looked very beautiful in her swimsuit. Sira was excited that Kashima had finally said it, and in order to get this beautiful swimsuit, Sira had tried on many other sets before choosing one that she thought was perfect. In addition, she also made a set of nails to match the swimsuit. Suddenly, a storm came, and because of the heavy rain, no ships could sail, and the two of them decided to stay at the resort for a day. They called home to inform their families before renting a room, and Kashima wanted to choose 2 separate rooms, but Sira wanted them to share a room to save money. Sira went to take a shower first, and Kashima just changed his clothes, and he didn't expect things to happen so quickly. Kashima had to hold his stomach to avoid having any bad thoughts about Sira. She came out of the shower and into the room, and when she saw him practicing, she wanted to practice with him. Kashima hurriedly avoided her and ran to soak in the water, and after taking a shower, he went back to the room. The 2 legs had been spread out and placed next to each other. Kashima noticed that Sira's face had some similarities to a rose. Her face was so ugly that Kashima kept teasing her. Kashima didn't know what to do, and her face was very cute, and then they turned off the lights and went to sleep. The wind and rain beat hard on the window, creating a loud noise. At this moment, Sira suddenly asked the 2 of them to do it. He still didn't think it was the right time. Her daughter simply didn't want Kashima to restrain herself like this, so Kashima didn't want to do it even more because she would be the one to suffer. Sira said that she didn't want to touch her body, but when she was with Kashima, he showed her a lot of new things, as well as when they kissed on the boat. Those were the real feelings, and that's what she wanted to do, so it was the same when she did it. She wanted to really want to do it, and Kashima promised that when she got that feeling, the 2 of them would do it. Because he really loves her, Sira then wanted to be stable, and this time he could satisfy her. He could feel her scent and warmth. She wanted to sign a 2-month contract, and the 2 of them would still be together like this next time, and the 2 of them then held hands and fell asleep. Konkuros was still waiting for Kashima to reply to her message, and she stopped having any wild thoughts. The next day, the storm had passed, and Kashima took Sira home, and the 2 of them made an appointment. Kashima promised Izumana, and then he hurriedly cooked rice. On the way back, Kashima unexpectedly received a call from Kuros. More surprisingly, the person on the other end was Sira. She wanted to meet him at school. Kashima was a little tired after the trip, but she had to agree when she begged. I went to the school tool house, as Sira said, and she suggested doing that with him. Kashima was surprised that her feelings had changed since yesterday. It was even more surprising that Sira was still at home for the matter with Zamana. Sira pretended to want to do that with Kashima at this time. She approached and hugged him, and he immediately realized that this was not her. It was not because of the size of her breasts or anything, but he did not believe that her weight could change so quickly. Kashima asked Sira who she really was, and just by hearing the sound of the net, he knew it was Kuros. He still wondered why she had to do this. Kuros approached Kashima with a seductive tone. She begged him to do it with her. She wanted to give him her first time, something Sira couldn't. Kuros didn't care if he chose her or not. She just wanted to do it with him. Kashima was very hesitant to refuse her request. He still wanted to see her cry, not cry. And again, he felt sorry for Kuros when he resorted to this method to conquer Sira. Suddenly, there was a noise outside. The guard saw that the door of the house was not locked, and went in to check, and both of them jumped out of the window and escaped outside. At the park, Kashima seriously told Kuros to give up on methods like this if the goal was to conquer Sira. However, Kuros calmly replied that she had never intended to conquer Sira. She did this because she really loved Kashima. She had fallen in love with him since he carried her when he spread rumors about Sira. Kashima was always straightforward and honest. This time too, he refused not because of Sira, but because of Kuros. This was the first time she had felt this way. But then he had Sira by his side, and she didn't know what to do. Anyway, she was rejected and understood how Kashima felt when she did. After saying that, she turned on her kindness again, which would only hurt Kuros more now. He chose to remain silent, and immediately calmed her down. Kuros approached, and took his hand and then leaned his head on his shoulder. Maybe at this time he was the only one she could rely on or really big. The 2 of them just left in silence without saying a word to each other. The next day at school, Kashima decided to break up with Kuros because he had Sira by his side. This incident has not ended. Another incident has come, and the school has sued Kashima for adultery. Someone caught him with Kuros and then took pictures and spread rumors all over the school. Kashima met Kuros and she insisted that she did not do that. She didn't make an appointment to that extent, that's right. She always used her body for sex. Back to the problem, she promised to cut off all contact with him, and then go explain to everyone. Kashima didn't see any steps but hoped she would do it quickly. When she returned to class, Kira suddenly said that if she had agreed at that time, the two of them would not have worried about this rumor. I don't know if it was natural or not, but Saira and Zamana passed by and heard everything. Kira's hurriedly left to make things more intense, and the sun was very hot to make a phone call. Kashima hurriedly explained, but the son didn't listen and ran away. He was about to pick up the phone when Zamana picked it up first and slapped him in the face. Summer has come and everything has just been messed up. At the farewell ceremony before the summer break, Sira did not come either. The gloomy summer just led to this heavy feeling like the dark clouds that never end. For the first 2 weeks of summer, Kashima lost contact with Sira to apologize to her, and what he received was hundreds of unread messages. He thought about meeting her again, but then he didn't have the courage to press the bell. To just go away with sadness, Kashima started to bury her head in her studies and her two friends. They are happily enjoying a trip to the beach to slide. In fact, the two of them just changed the location to watch Li's Chim from the room to the beach. After watching until they were hungry, the two of them went to eat noodles. Suddenly both of them discovered something. Towards Kashima, finally his head was overloaded when he couldn't concentrate. He received a message from the phone with a picture of Sira with another strange guy. Without thinking, Kashima immediately went to the beach according to the address he found to Sira's place. He saw her with Zamana with the other guy. The wind only brought pain to Kashima as she entered the restaurant to find Sira. Unexpectedly, this was Sira's owner. Mao then pulled Zamana to let Kashima go. He told Sira everything. The first was the person who rejected him in the past, was Kuros. After the trip to the sea, he was confessed by him and refused. And finally someone secretly took pictures when he refused Kuros. Sira had known everything from the beginning. She was just Kuros's servant, so she didn't know how to behave. The reason she didn't reply to his messages was because her phone was broken, and there was no phone repair shop near the sea. It was really a business god. Kashima sighed because she didn't blame him. All the mysteries have been solved. Kashima's two friends were very bored because they didn't have a girlfriend anyway. I went to Sira's grandmother's house. Mao went to prepare water for Kashima. At this time she asked if he wanted to stay with her this summer. Of course, he didn't hesitate to nod his head when he had the opportunity to be close to each other like this. Sira happily said that the two of them would stay here for the rest of the summer. Kashima will work with Sira at the restaurant on the beach. If you have a house on the beach, perhaps the best thing is that every morning you will be awakened by the sound of the sea. Our side is much happier than yours. He heard the sound of the sea, and was also called by a beautiful girl. Starting today he will work with Sira. It's not easy to get used to it at first, but Kashima has Sira by her side and you don't have anyone. Working here made Kashima realize that Mao's shop not only sells food, but also rents out swimming pools. And now I think he's taking advantage of the time to do his homework. At this time, 2 chickens came to harass Sira. She tried to answer to get over it, but they still tried to come. Kashima looked from afar and felt a little scared. The fact is that a girl having an accident is just a problem for a coward. Kashima stepped out and asked the 2 chickens what they wanted. With the brains of the 2 guys who went through the girls, they had no intention of buying anything. Seeing that they were lost, they decided to leave. But when they left, they both turned around and asked Sira, who was one of the 2. Of course she chose Kashima. After that, Kashima continued to study Sira's language with great diligence. She is sure he will choose a good school to study well. Zamana plans to go to 2 schools to teach to get a degree, because she is the child of a single mother, so she cannot rely on the allowance. Zamana had to work everywhere to save money for school. Besides her friend Zamana, Sarah also has a friend named Taniki. That friend also has plans for herself to go to fashion school. While everyone has a clear direction for the future, Sira is still very vague. She still has a purpose, but it has been completed in the present. That is to meet someone who loves her sincerely. Sira once wanted to find a place to settle down for a long time, because she wanted to live with her mother and her brother forever. But now they are divorced, so she wants to be a mother herself, and create a family with the person she loves. The 2 of them will be affectionate in front of the children, hearing the sincerity in Sira's words. Kashima is determined that the future must be him and her. From now on, he must focus more on his studies. When taking a bath in Kashima, I heard Sira and her grandmother arguing because the pork was gone, so she cooked a stew for Kashima. The 3 meats want her to use the pork to cook. Kashima then went out to go shopping with her. Wanting to live on the road because Sira wanted to carry her luggage, Of course Kashima didn't allow it because he had to carry her luggage. However, she wanted to hold it so that the two of them could hold hands. When they got home, they went into the kitchen together to cook like a married couple. The meat dish was finished, and Sira fed him to try it. At Kira's house, she had just finished her summer homework when her mother informed her that the two of them would visit her grandparents' house like every year. Kira was very excited until she found out that Kashima was there. So she. Katu realized that Kira was looking at them. Sira had not seen her sister for 2 years, and when Kira transferred to this school, she was so surprised that she wanted to stand up and shout that she had not seen her in a long time. But then, she did not dare. Because Sira knew that when they were little, they were like two extremes of a slow-moving life. Kira had never revealed her emotions, even though Sira was very close to her sister. She shared every piece of cake with Kira when she met Kira again. Sira wanted to talk to her but was afraid of being rejected. Only Kashima and Zamana knew that they were sisters, because Sira was afraid that Kira's rumors would affect her sister. Sira asked herself if there was anything wrong with being close to her sister. Kashima thought that Kira's current emotions were still not possible, but he believed that there would come a day when Kira would realize this. Sira, like Kashima, urged her to befriend Kira. If she could not be a sister, she would start from the beginning and gradually shorten the distance. Katu decided to implement the plan immediately. At this time, the owner quickly returned with Sira's phone. She was happy to update all the trends that she had missed in the past 2 weeks. Then Sira pulled Kashima out to talk. A month had passed and today Kashima received her first salary. Kashima knew that today was also the 2-month anniversary of their relationship, so he gave her a little more and told her, "Today, there will be a clown festival, so you should do something a little special. You go around the stalls for a bit to see if there is anything interesting, and then go home." Kashima received a call from Sira. She told him to wait outside the door for a moment and then come in. When she was allowed to, Kashima stepped inside and it was a stunning beauty. She was already beautiful in normal clothes, but in a kata dress, she was even more beautiful. Literature does not say that she is really beautiful. The light from her eyes is enough to make the whole night dream. The night blood had to step back, and the moon had to bow down to her stunning beauty. Kashima looked at Sira without taking her eyes off her. Then she also wore a kata dress and went to the festival with her. The two of them had a lot of fun, which is fun for couples. But I will not tell you about it because you FA or lose. While queuing up for a drink, Sira asked Kashima to hold her place while she went to the next stall to buy a souvenir, but the person in front of her wanted to buy it first. At the end of the festival, the two of them went to a nearby temple to rest. Kashima was very happy because this was the first time she had gone to a festival with a girlfriend. "The first time I tried this kind of game because I haven't been to a festival with my parents since kindergarten." Hearing this, Sira could only cry. She felt very happy because this was not the first time for her. She felt injustice for Kashima. She wished it was the first time for her too. She shed tears in regret, and Kashima was delicate enough to notice. Although this was not the first time, she had many first times with her. "I went to the places she liked, sailed, played at the beach, and in the future, there will definitely be more." Kashima brought out the commemorative gift for the two of them, which was the ring that had been sold out. It turned out that he was the one who bought them, and tears fell on her rosy cheeks again. But this time it was tears of happiness. Kashima put the ring on Sira's ring finger, and usually the wedding ring is only here. The two of them promised to create many more memories together, and the fireworks were bright enough to witness the promise of CA. The two of them greeted each other more and more, and when did the two straight lines have an intersection? The clown show was over and everyone started to go back to school. At the beginning of the new semester, everyone also started to change to a new seat. Sira was still very clumsy, so she slept in the first 3 classes. Kira's transferred from the first table to the last table. Sira tried to talk to her, but she ignored her. Kashima watched everything from afar, and secretly thought that the plan to make friends was more difficult than she thought. She gathered her 2 friends to ask them to help her. In fact, she helped her friends and Sira's friends to play together on a certain day. Saturday has arrived, and the whole group played together happily. The 3 girls went up to fight, making the 3 boys sink. Tanichi recognized Zen because they had studied together in middle school. Zen was happy to be called by his name by a girl. Sira excitedly threw a cake into Kashima's heart, and he quickly reminded her not to throw it at others next time. Seeing the two of them flirting, Suke wanted to punch him, but was stopped by Zamana, and then the game started to divide the players into 2 groups. Old Suke and Zen on the yellow side, Tanichi, Sira and Kashima on the other side, the signal to start the game. Zen and Sue kept aiming at Kashima to take her down first. The two of them focused too much on her, and were attacked by Taniki from behind. Now only Zamana is left. She also went behind to attack Sira, but Kashima defended her, and Taniki also quickly resisted and was taken down. Now it is a one-sided battle with the addition of Kashima. Increasing Sira's anger effect by 50%, she decided to avenge Kashima. The two of them kept exchanging blows with each other, and Sira ended the battle with a blow to Zamana's shoulder. And as if thinking before entering the second half, Zamana decided to tie her hair up so that she could see the board better. She then attacked both her team and the white team, and after the game the whole group went to the souvenir area. At this time, Sira found that her favorite earrings had disappeared. Fortunately, it was still in her bag and she found it soon. Kashima realized that even though she had played with her many times, she had never noticed her important earrings, and then the whole group went to eat together. Tanichi was still very excited after the game, especially the attack she had planned. Suke heard this, and he immediately told a lot of different types of attacks, which made the group even more confused. Only Tanichi paid attention because she was also a ticklish person. Zamana likes to make jokes, and the two of them kept making jokes. The three boys now also understand the feeling of the water group. Sira was a little disappointed because she had nothing to be obsessed with like them, so Zamana pointed directly at Kashima, making her blush. Jang wondered why Zamana didn't have a boyfriend, and she also sincerely said that she was too busy to think about it. As for her love affair, she had a very deep love. She liked his way of life very much. Before, when she saw him listening to something bland, she asked him what he was listening to, and it turned out to be Buddhist scriptures. Jiang listened and felt that it was a puberty syndrome, and she only dated him for 2 weeks. Anyway, it was very memorable, because he was the first person she fell in love with. Speaking of love, Taniki also has her own criteria. It must be a little taller. Suk is very confident because he is as tall as a shower, and the outing ends with everyone leaving first. Only Sira and Kashima still had time, so they decided to go on a date. They went up to the Ferris wheel together to watch the sunset. In this empty space, Kashima suddenly wanted to kiss, and the people above watching the scenery made Sira remember a story her mother had heard from her mother. The story of a boy and a girl kissing after the Sokola brother said that Sira also wanted to kiss, and the two of them kissed each other. Kashima felt a pain, and she happily said that it was a bubble that she had just bought. There was still a bubble of hers left on his lips. She happily leaned her head on him. She wanted him to stroke her head because when she was in the cake area, she always wanted him to stroke her head. At the end of the Ferris wheel, the couple left. The 3rd anniversary was approaching, and Kashima asked her if she wanted to go to the head. She asked to think for a moment, and then replied that she did not need to go to the head. She just wanted to be with him. She wanted to be with him for a long time, and grow up together, and then the two of them ran together. Kashima didn't want to stop when they grew up. He wanted more than that. He wanted to marry her, but to do that, he needed to study. In the following days, Kashima kept studying at the Loin Training Center. Sira came to ask him to go out to play, but he also refused. At the center, Kiros also studied here unexpectedly. Seeing her, he immediately went down to the table, and he kept skipping school and leaving the classroom. Unfortunately, he accidentally made a noise that made Kiros turn around, and fortunately an acquaintance called him in time. This guy's Kashima's senior, Sakia, and he is proud to have failed. It would be strange not to tell the story after getting involved, so Kashima told it briefly. Kiros was the first love who confessed his love and failed, who was the younger sister of his current girlfriend. Now, both of them avoid each other after the incident. Kashima still had no solution, so Sakia helped him. He would inform him whenever Kiros appeared. The next day at school, the students started to vote for the organizer of the upcoming cultural festival. Of course, no one in the class wanted to participate. At this time, Kiros volunteered to participate, and Sira immediately volunteered as well. With Sira's confidence, Taniki also participated. Zamana did not because she was busy with her part-time job. Tanichi then targeted Kashima. With no other choice, he also participated. There was only one slot left and Kashima wanted to give Suki a chance, so he also suggested that he participate. And so, there were enough people. After that, Kashima's group met to receive their assignments. Suki and Taniki's group organized the games. Kashima's group was in charge of advertising, which he was now struggling with. Sira started the conversation, but the two sisters were not on the same page, so Sira could not understand what Kiros was saying. On the other hand, Kashima got along well with Kuros because she also liked birdwatching. Sira sat right there and did not understand anything. The awkward atmosphere continued until Kashima met Sukiya at the Ono Center. Then he remembered to tell him everything, and the two of them went to a restaurant where Kashima told him everything. He realized that things were very difficult. Before telling him, he told him a little bit about his past. When he was young, he was very confident because girls naturally liked him, which made him arrogant. As a result, he only played around in high school and failed his college entrance exam. But there was only one love that he could never forget. Although it only lasted for 2 weeks, she changed Sukiya. From then on he changed his buzz cut to the hairstyle he has now. The next day, the second poster-making meeting began. Sira had made some cute samples in advance, but Kuros did not think everyone would like them. She had also prepared some simpler samples. Then the two of them started arguing and asked him to choose. Kashima was put in a difficult position and had to change the subject immediately. Kashima then ran to ask the teacher for advice. However, the festival was approaching, and everyone was in a hurry. So she advised him to make his own decision. On the train ride back, Kashima kept thinking and took a long time to get off. As soon as he got off, he accidentally met Kuros. The two of them waited for the train back together. She had just made a choice. Here, we learn why Kuros chose to transfer to this school. It was not because she hated Sira. She just wanted to make her sister happy because she knew her sister loved surprises. Although she was always mean to Sira, deep down she wanted her sister to protect her. Kashima realized these emotions from Kuros. The knots had been untied, and now the distance between the two sisters would gradually close. Kashima kept thinking and missed her stop. When she got off, she wanted to give her a ride, but she refused. Kashima accidentally fell and revealed her school ID. He hurriedly explained, but she already knew that he studied there but did not expose him. Then Kashima texted Sira that he would tell her more about the plan for the friendship match and sports meet before the cultural festival. Everyone enthusiastically participated in the games. Sira participated in the track race. When she was about to be overtaken, Kashima's voice of encouragement reached her ears, making her speed up and finish first. Then the two of them told each other everything, making the two male friends laugh like monkeys. The next exciting part was the challenge. Sira ran ahead to see the challenge. After reading it, she called out Kashima's name loudly. The two of them pulled each other to the finish line, and inside the paper was nothing else but the person they loved. Sira's mother also came to watch. Confidently, Kuros was preparing to change into her cheerleader outfit with Taniki. When they were done, they went to the field to join everyone. Suddenly, Kuros saw her mother talking to Sira, which made her anxious and run away. As for Sira, her mother was glad that she ran very well and asked where Kuros was, because she came here according to her promise to watch Kuros cheer. Sira and Kashima quickly ran to find her. He found Kuros on the rooftop. She was very jealous at this moment because Sira had taken away her limelight again. From him to Sira's mother, everyone was always loved, but she had nothing. However, Kuros still could not give up on him. She still loved him. Kuros confessed to Kashima once again. Sira accidentally heard the whole conversation. She did not want to hear Kashima's answer and left. After the sports meet, the teachers gathered to choose one of the two posters. Sira's representative had 5 votes, while Kuros's representative had 2 votes. Sira was furious, but the one who made the decision was still Kashima. Kashima was always straightforward, so she preferred Kuros's simpler one. Outside it was raining, but it was not a heavy rain. It still let in a little bit of the sunset's glow. This bright scenery seemed to be a reflection of Sira's heart. Kashima and Sira walked together. He wanted to apologize to her about the poster, but she would be even angrier if he lied to choose hers. Suddenly she mentioned meeting both of them on the rooftop. She felt that he and Kuros were more compatible because they were both smart and had similar interests. As for her, she did not think she was compatible with Kashima. The more she loved him, the more Sira realized this. She then wanted the two of them to temporarily stop contacting each other for a while. She asked sadly if it was really a lie to love like this and ran away. Kashima wanted to chase after her but stopped. He wondered what he would say to her when he caught up. The 4-year anniversary of their love ended just like that. At Kuros's house, she also felt that Kashima was stupid for choosing her poster. She looked at the stuffed cat again. Sira liked it very much, but because she loved Kuros, Sira still gave it to her. Sira was always like this, always very kind. Deep down, Karaz really wanted Sira to be happy with Kashima. But she still could not forget Kashima. The next day, the poster was completed, and Kashima handed it over to the teacher. When he returned to the classroom, he heard Sira's voice nearby. She was speaking politely to someone and then ran away. Before Kashima could ask, she had disappeared. And since the two of them were keeping their distance, he did not dare to ask. Kashima sighed as he watched. He wanted to ask Zamana, but now she was even more distant than Sira. It was only then that Zamana realized that love was not only about happiness. There used to be two people on the way back, but now there was only Kashima. At this time, Taniki hurriedly came to find him. She had something to tell him and pulled him away. In fact, she suspected that Sira was a mistress for a rich man. The day before, when she was walking out of the store, she saw Sira walking with a very tall and handsome man. Kashima thought it was her uncle, but Taniki thought the man was about the age of a college student. She really hoped that she was wrong, and hoped that Kashima could do something. He comforted Taniki and told her that he believed Sira was not that kind of person. At this time, we learned a lesson about love from Kashima. It was a lesson about trust. Kashima decided to do something. He paced back and forth and called Sira at the cultural festival. Just as he said, wherever he went, girls would pay attention to him. Today, Kashima called him here to ask him to help him find out the name of the person Sira was with. The only thing he knew was the name of the person. Unexpectedly, Taniki appeared and pointed at Sira's face, saying that this was the person. After a series of logical reasoning, Kashima realized that Sira was Sira's doppelganger. He pulled him into a coffee shop to question him. Kashima did not expect to meet Sira's doppelganger one day. Sira wanted to hit Kashima when he heard this. He said that he had misunderstood, and that he and Sira were not like that. In fact, Sira was a friend of his ex-girlfriend, Samana to be exact. The person she was talking about had puberty paranoid disorder and listened to Buddhist scriptures, thinking it was cool. That day, he came to school to give a lecture as usual. Suddenly, Sira ran over and said that she knew Zamana. He refused to talk to her, but she kept stuffing her contact information into his hand. He could not refuse such a cute girl, so he took it. That was all. He knew that Sira was trying to reconnect him with Zamana, but he thought that he was no longer worthy of Zamana. Who would love a playboy? When they first met, Zamana was very serious with her jet black hair. Everything changed after her parents divorced. He was not mature enough, and he thought she wanted to meet him again to sort things out. Kashima and Susuki ran in to say that Zamana and Sira were in trouble. Kashima reacted quickly while Sira just stood there until he was prompted. Zamana was now standing in front of Sira to protect him from the two thugs who had come to see him. They wanted to leave, but she blocked their way. My goodness, this only happens in anime. If it happened in real life, I would call the police. Kashima stepped forward to talk. He pulled Sira away, leaving Zamana cornered by the two thugs. Suddenly, one of them tried to kiss her, but she dodged it and punched him in the face. He then pulled Zamana away. He apologized for coming and she burst into tears. You could tell she was broken. Susuki decided to go and confess to Taniki after seeing this. She didn't refuse but just told Susuki that he was a pervert. If he was confessing to her because of her appearance, then she would refuse. They didn't know each other well enough for Susuki to do that. After saying this, Taniki left. Sira asked Susuki to understand her and then left. So, 2 out of the 3 friends were heartbroken, and they both just hoped that Kashima would be happy with Sira. His happiness was their happiness. Speaking of which, Kashima still hadn't resolved the issue with Sira. He hurriedly ran off to find him. He was standing in the hallway outside the classroom. They both stopped and stood together. Sira thought that life was too short to be in love and keep your distance. He just wanted to be with the person he loved. Kashima didn't think so. He thought that life was long because he still wanted to be with him from now until the future. That day, Sira and Kashima went to the cram school. They both thought about the situation in the park after the cultural festival. Zamana and Sakia had gotten back together after all those years apart. She had even done the deed with him to seal the deal. As for Susuki, he had stopped going to school after being rejected. After that, he just buried his head in games, and he wasn't the only one. Kashima and Sira walked around town for a bit and then he left. The next day at school, Zamana came to school with a face full of wrinkles. She said that Sakia had hit her again. She couldn't relax, and when he wasn't around, he would tell her to go and find him. Jiang thought that there was still a chance, but Zamana ignored him. At the cram school, Kashima confronted Sakia. He said that when he got back together with Zamana, he had predicted this. Her desires were too high. Ever since they got back together, she had been doing the deed every day. When they weren't at home, they were at a hotel. By the time he realized, his mock exam scores had dropped significantly, so he was going to put love on hold to focus on his studies. Sakia knew that high school was the best time of your life. So, he wanted Zamana to enjoy it and not get tied down in his complicated relationship. After hearing about his problems, Kashima realized that his own problems with Saira hadn't been resolved. He then told him all about how he and Saira were slowly drifting apart. Kashima realized that he would probably never have a girlfriend again if he broke up with Saira. Because when he met her, he felt like an invisible person in this world. It was dark and lonely, and if he disappeared, no one would notice. And then that dark night was lit up by her. Kashima had experienced things that he had never thought possible, so if he lost Saira, it would be something he would regret for the rest of his life. The two brothers then said goodbye. At the train station, Kashima met Kuros again. He offered to walk her home for a bit. But when they said goodbye, Kashima told Kuros directly that they should stop talking. Kuros agreed with him. It was true that she loved him very much, but she loved her sister more. Because she had always been there for her, so this time, she wouldn't hold back. Kashima said that there were a lot of things that were a first for him, but he didn't regret giving up his first love for her. Kuros left in tears. Kashima then called Saira to sort things out. Suddenly, Kuros' voice could be heard singing. Kashima quickly ran to find her. It turned out that she had been attacked by a man, and he had arrived just in time. He took her to the police station and then went back to tell Saira everything. Kashima wanted to explain, but she left him at the cram school because she also had something to tell him. The next day at the park, without waiting for him to explain, Saira went straight to the point and said that she wanted to break up with Kashima. This was also a first for her. It was the first time she had broken up with a boyfriend. Kashima calmly accepted it and thanked her for her time. However, his emotions wouldn't accept it. The wonderful memories that they had made together, they couldn't accept this pain. Kashima burst into tears. He didn't want to leave Saira. She also couldn't control her emotions and started to cry. She didn't want to be abandoned by the person she loved. She hated herself and the mistakes that she had made in the past. Kashima hugged Saira tightly. We are still young, and we can still make mistakes. And from those mistakes, we learn and grow. The park that day was filled with the sound of a couple crying. It wasn't sadness but happiness because they had found what they needed in each other. When they both stopped crying, a young boy nearby drove his car into Kashima. They both laughed happily. However, that afternoon, they walked back hand in hand. They stopped at a bridge to watch the sunset and kissed each other on the lips. Kashima apologized to Saira because he couldn't convince her to be friends with Kuros. She didn't want to be friends with Kuros anymore. She really just wanted to be with him. Kashima was about to tell her Kuros's true feelings, but Saira interrupted him. She said that she really liked this pair of earrings. They were a pair of earrings, however. She had given one to her sister before they drifted apart. Kashima remembered the night Kuros was attacked by the pervert. She had mentioned that she had been hit and lost an earring. Kashima quickly took Saira to find it. They found it in the bushes. With it, Saira could start a conversation with Kuros. The next day, Kuros was praised by the class for her good academic performance. Everyone clapped in praise, but suddenly, Saira stood up and announced that Kuros was her younger sister, which surprised everyone. Kuros took Saira outside to talk. Her sister gave her back the earring. The two sisters hugged each other. The plan to be friends was a success. Christmas was approaching, and that night, there would be many happy couples, but Saira confidently declared in the middle of the street that she would be the happiest. On Christmas Day, Kashima had a wish, something he had wanted ever since they started dating. Suddenly, Saira asked Kashima to help her fix the bond between her and her mother. They went to a restaurant. The two sisters were now able to return to their previous relationship. So now she also wanted the warmth to return once more. In the past, Saira had read a book about sisters spending Christmas together with their mother. She had a strong belief in it. The plan was for the two sisters to call them and invite them to a surprise party. Kashima felt like he was a bit of a third wheel, however. She said that he was a part of the plan this time. Well, she was very busy, so she had to use the excuse of introducing her boyfriend to get him to come. They both agreed on the plan. The next day, at school, Saira, Kashima, and Kuros wrote letters to their mothers. After months of being at home, Suke finally returned to school. This time he had lost 30 kg, which surprised Kashima. Taniki couldn't help but notice him. She asked everyone to introduce her to him. She had rejected him before, but now she regretted it. Zamana didn't listen and left. While she was feeling annoyed, she wanted to check her phone for messages. Jian came over to talk to her, and he knew that she had a boyfriend, but he was still persistent. The result was as expected when he was rejected outright. Everyone was going through Christmas and they all had someone to give their love to, but perhaps Jiang was the unlucky one in love. Christmas Day had arrived. Kashima was practicing how to ask Santa Claus for a present when Sira came to take him to the restaurant. When they got there, his mother and Kira's had already arrived. At this point, his mother knew about Sira's plan. She also sympathized with her. At this point, Kashima had also arrived unexpectedly, and he had even brought a woman with him. It was not difficult to guess that this would be the woman he would marry. Sira burst into tears in frustration. The party she had planned had been ruined. Even when Jiang called Sira, she still hadn't calmed down. Kashima decided to take her home. The wait was still silent even when they arrived home. Kashima planned to go home to calm down. Sira pulled his shirt and expressed that she wanted him to stay tonight. With his current situation, it would be difficult to control himself if he stayed. Kashima politely declined to go. However, the wait felt like he would be abandoned like tea, so he immediately rushed to him. In the west, Kashima accidentally attacked the nearby light switch. In this atmosphere, Sira wanted him to hold her tightly. Kashima didn't care what would happen after that. Suddenly Sira's hand was held. It turned out that the weight had been released. Kashima quickly took the weight to the room to rest. He promised to be with the weight tonight because he was the only one with the weight. The Zen version, he decided to confess to end everything. Zen waited for Zamana to finish, and then said. As soon as Zamana finished overtime, she ran straight to the training center to find Sakia. She promised to wait for him to finish studying, and then go. Sakia changed the scarf for her. Zen from afar had also accepted the ending for himself. She waited to go home and immersed herself in the game. The next day Sira was feeling better. The weight gave Kashima a birthday present, which was a lot of prayer beads. After that, Kashima gave the weight a pair of earrings. The weight was very happy to receive them. To celebrate the birthday, the weight pulled Kashima to take pictures before the two of them chose cosplay costumes. Sira cosplayed as a bunny maid and took pictures with Kashima. He felt that the weight today seemed to be still feverish. However, the weight said that the weight of love wore this outfit to stimulate Kashima. The weight wanted him to look at the weight with jealous eyes. Maybe the weight wanted to do that. The anime is over here. Goodbye.